Notice a little bit of strapping on one of the legs, upper quads of Alcaraz, which sometimes he has in tournaments, but I don't often see it this early in a tournament. It looks like it's under his left.
It's one of those legs.
It's definitely one of the two.
Nice probing from Alcaraz in this opening game, isn't it? Moving to around the court, see what he's got. Going after that backhand some. See if he could hold up against the heft of his shots. Welcome to the top 50.
Yep, 105-mile-an-hour serve, and not short enough in the box at that speed to challenge someone of Alcaraz's stature. Triple break point opening game.
Game Alcaraz. First game.
Well, opening game. Rocked on his heels a little bit. He's still out there. And not many can say that they have been out there playing someone of Carlos's stature on the world's biggest dedicated tennis court. This will be a night he'll never forget.
On the board. There's another Australian who took a bunch of time off. Ash Barty. She quit the game for a couple of years. She was overwhelmed by it. She was a great junior and was already doing special things on the WTA Tour and just walked away from it. But this guy, he didn't have those credentials, and he's 28 years old. But his mom had told him,
15.
do what you want to do. He went to college, but his mom told him, do what makes you happy. Knockdown already. Who do you even practice against if you're about to play Alcaraz?
Well, he grew up in Adelaide, Australia, and his big rival was Thanasi Kokkinakis, who had a great win earlier today, taking out Stefanos Tsitsipas. So this guy is well known amongst the Aussies. Yeah. So, I mean, he's seen balls coming this quickly at him before. He's seen powerhouse players, but the combination that Carlos brings athletically as well as just the shot making, that's tough to replicate if you can't actually practice with the man himself.
I mean, he's got so much more experience, the 21-year-old, than the 28-year-old playing in a match like this.
Game Alcaraz. Alcaraz leads by 2 games to none. First set. Love 15.
One of the big challenges, if you haven't been on the court with Alcaraz, I'm sure has to be the amount of time that Carlitos takes away from you with his movement, how early he's willing to take the ball, and just the ominous threat of aggression. Not just the shot making, but also his presence. He might be at the net. If you look down at the ball, he might just be at the net.
It's true. Keep an eye on him.
It's hard to watch the ball and him. Be nice if he was wearing a little more flashy, like neon outfit, so you could catch him streaking around. He's like the Flash out there. But he's covert with this all-black attack. That seems to be among the issues that Li Tu is having right now, is that he looks like he's being suffocated with Alcaraz, and that the aggression coming out of the young Spaniard. This is just one of those scenarios that if you can somehow scratch and claw your way to a game in this set somewhere, just settle in, it should get better for the Aussie.
Before he quit the game, Tu had never cracked the top 1,000 in the rankings. Now look where he is.
Game Alcaraz.
He's only won 2 points in 2 service games, and it seems like that's going to be an all-night problem.
Time.
Back inside Ash Stadium. Alcaraz apologized on social media for smithereenie that racket a couple of weeks ago. It's just not like him, is it? But it's true. This isn't just a fable. That Rafa Nadal never broke a racket in anger. He never threw a racket in anger. At a very early age, his uncle told him, they're very expensive. Don't even think about it. And he kept that right up. We're not going to see him again. He's not going to play next year, is he?
I don't know. He's certainly slated to play in Laver Cup in a couple of weeks' time, the team event, Team Europe versus Team World. I think it will be challenging for him to be of a physical standard that he's able to play best of 5 sets on a hard court. Maybe at Roland Garros.
Yeah, you know,
on a hard court, I think it's unlikely.
Yeah.
But I'm an optimist by nature. I would love to see him play anywhere at any time.
You've always had a sunny disposition.
Yes.
40-15.
Unfortunately, unlike you, my skin not very friendly with the sun.
Yes.
Disposition, yes.
Yes. Very pleasant, man. 124, that ace.
Yep.
Game, Alcaraz.
He's only lost a fistful of points so far, and he's up 4-love, Alcaraz.
Alcaraz leads
If you
by
want to
4
find out
games to none.
what the longest match in the history of the U.S. Open is, well, it happened earlier today, and you can find out about that if you go to usopen.org. You can keep track of match highlights, get player news, hear about that very long match won by Dan Evans over Karin Khachanov. And 35 minutes, and it was a hot day. And that beats the match many years ago between Stefan Edberg and Michael Chang. Edberg on the way to winning the Open. That's a long match.
Especially in these conditions today.
And Khachanov was up 4-love in the 5th.
Yeah. This is a good opportunity now for two to get on the board at 15 all. Hopefully he will. But let's take a moment, I think, Mary, to tip our cap to Dan Evans.
Okay.
And the sacrifice he made to be on the Olympic team, which some folks may not be aware of, but he won the biggest title of his career last summer in Washington, D.C., which is a 500 level ATP events. That's 500 points. The Olympics took place at the same time as Washington, D.C. this year. He decided to be a part of Team GB and partner Andy Murray in his swan song.
That he sure did.
And they had
no
some
points.
Amazing matches.
They won a couple crazy ones. They saved like 9 match points. But yeah, he lost all those points. And the Olympics don't give you ranking points or points.
So,
I really like that.
Yeah, no, and he deserved a bit of good fortune. So perhaps the tennis gods paying him back today with that win, because his ranking has dropped well outside of the top 100. And this was a big match for him to win. This is a big point here for two to get on the board, 40-15.
Carlos Alcaraz's volley is every bit as good as
everybody else in the top 10, with the possible exception of Novak Djokovic. Two best volleyers in men's tennis currently, in my opinion, at that level. Dan Evans has a beautiful volley, coincidentally.
No kidding.
But Alcaraz, the ability to not only stuff volleys away like that, but the finesse at his disposal, what a combination.
He's on the board. 4-1 opening set. Oh, look at the nice smile. Let's see if he can create any kind of tension in this opening set. More than just winning one game.
The crowd, the tickets are all sold. The crowd is often a late arriving crowd because it's difficult to get into the U.S. Open with the traffic conditions and parking situation and just the massive humanity all here on site. But this is going to get louder and more energetic. Alcaraz tends to electrify the crowds here, but they'll get behind the underdog in New York. They always do.
Out. 15 love.
Some of that is self-interest, Mary, of course. The crowd likes to see the star players on the court for a little bit longer, so they might be just cheering, just
give us more match.
Give us more. Daniil Medvedev certainly felt that.
That's Carlos Alcaraz.
The real one.
Well, no, there was actually the grandfather's name is Carlos as well. That's why when this kid showed up, everyone was calling him Carlitos, because that's what his family called him. Yeah, that's the one.
His brother on the bottom right there, Alvaro, often a hitting partner. Quality player. I've watched them practice. Hits the ball well. Not quite there to play at this level, but certainly plenty good to be a sparring partner.
He's got two younger siblings, doesn't he? Play a little tennis. How nice was this guy to have around?
He's really let himself go.
Yeah, that's hard to see. What are you going to do?
Ferrer was so tough. I called him the gatekeeper, because he was the one who beat everybody else at these tournaments except for the Big Four. So he basically was like the doorman, letting people, no one could get in except for the Big Four. Come right on in.
Exactly.
He's so consistent, so tough, but just didn't quite have the weaponry.
Got to a French Open final.
Yeah.
Game, Alcaraz.
Didn't quite have the dynamic game that Alcaraz has. But what about Carlos's control tonight, Mary? 9 winners, aggressive at every turn that he can be, and just one unforced error. I think you like to call that snappy.
That is very snappy. Lee 2 is 2-6 in those categories. And he's serving at 50%, which hasn't done him much good.
Flash for service.
Well, it's understandable. He's trying to really be precise with his serve and pick the corners, because he's not an overpowering server. Against Alcaraz, you really have to spot serve beautifully.
Out. Love 15.
You say these fans love an underdog. I'm just wondering, Jim, how long were you an underdog before you became an overdog at this place?
Ooh.
A couple of years, right?
Yeah. I certainly was an underdog when I played Connors here.
Oh, God, yeah.
There were 20,000 people in the stands, 19,990 against me. I had 10 seats in the players' box, I think. But look, it's a crowd that, if you know how to use them, and Alcaraz does, they will work with you. And how much of a wizard was Jimmy Connors at that? You saw it, I saw it, we all saw it.
Yeah.
Alcaraz has that showmanship at a much earlier age than Jimmy. It took Jimmy a little bit of time to find the love with the crowd. He kind of like winding them up early on.
Yes. And Connors won for the first time away from far fields at Flushing Meadows. He was not a fan favorite, but he gave a terrific speech, and he said, "You may not like me, but I sure like you." And ever since that day, he was theirs.
Gave Alcaraz a little taste of his own medicine with this little drop shot situation.
Sweet.
Those Aussies tend to know how to volley, don't they?
They know their way around that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Volley, third set.
On the board again.
Game 2. New balls, please.
He told Nick Kyrgios before this match,
Alcaraz.
the pre-match interview.
You played in the main draw, one of the most important, prestigious tournaments in the world. You've earned that.
And I think that just about doubles his prize money for the year here.
Yeah.
Qualifying.
Yeah, and good for him.
Yeah.
And that hopefully will give him the boost. And he also gets ranking points for qualifying here, too. Currently ranked about 181 in the world in the live rankings. So if it ends here in this round, which it most likely will, he'll be on to the next challenger event most likely. But as a top 200 player, he has now more options to get into tournaments that provide free hotel rooms.
That's huge.
That's massive. You're provided a base salary in those tournaments that at least will cover your cost, and most importantly, the opportunity to win more points, with the goal of every player at his level to be ranked inside the top 100, because that's a milestone that every player remembers the first time it happens to them. You would. I certainly do. And then you're in the main draw of all these tournaments, and that is massive, because then you're on the tour, and then you are making a living playing professional tennis, not just trying to keep your neck up. Triple set point for Alcaraz.
Goes to the 21-year-old Spaniard, Carlos Alcaraz.
By 6 games to 2. $15 love.
First ace of the match for Ali 2. Good start here to set 2.
Oh. 30-15.
Third time he's double faulted.
Court speed here at the US Open is considered medium fast. It's quick. But the tournament that Alcaraz got so upset that he obliterated his racket was like an ice skating rink in the speed department in Cincinnati. And he was flustered with the conditions there. It was very difficult for even him to react to the ball coming through the court. And it was so different, clearly, than the clay of Roland Garros, which he'd just been playing on. And he didn't get a lot of practice in the week after the Olympics. He just needed to recover.
Game 2.
This is a much more manageable court for him, but it does seem like it's a court that rewards aggression, and Lee too trying to get to the net quite a bit.
Yeah, he is.
Won 7 out of 11 points up there. It's been profitable for him.
Jim, over the course of the 2 weeks, how much slicker do these courts get from all the play?
They will typically gain less than 10% more speed, so it's not going to be something that the players will notice from day to day. But if they played on day 1 and then didn't play again on it until day 14 or 13, they would note the difference. They get power washed every night, as you know. You see them doing that. So every night they bring out the big machines and
defuzz the court.
They definitely do, and that takes some of the sand out of the mix, which speeds them up.
Love 15.
So the biggest change over a 2-week period in a major is the grass at Wimbledon?
Yes, that is, because that changes your movement. Your movement doesn't change out here. You just need to be slightly quicker at the end of the tournament. But the ball doesn't bounce differently, and you're not at threat of slipping on a dirt patch. I was chatting with some of the coaches, Mary, when we were in Cincinnati covering the finals of that tournament. Some of the players had moved on and were practicing on Arthur Ashe Stadium here. And I asked them to compare the speeds, because it was quite a talking point in Cincinnati, just how unbelievably fast the conditions were. Players like Medvedev were already out on the court, and I got word from Danielle's coach, Gilles Savaro, that the biggest difference in Cincinnati, the courts had so little grit in them that the balls never fluffed up. The pelt on the ball, the yellow fuzz, it never expanded. The balls got smaller, which kept them really fast. Didn't see many points like that in Cincinnati. Players had trouble controlling the ball, and it was far more unforced errors than winners there. But Gilles Savaro said it was so noticeable immediately. As Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor are in the house.
And Virginia Wade, the 1968 champ, right behind him.
Our Ginny is here.
Our Ginny, indeed.
Well, see how Ben's hair is kind of fluffed up? That's what the tennis balls here at the U.S. Open look like after about 5 minutes of hitting, which they never did in Cincinnati. But at 5 minutes into the hit here, Medvedev felt better.
They look like that. Yeah. That's what we want. We want Ben here.
Yeah.
Ben balls.
Game Alcaraz.
Speaking of which, because you brought up Gilles Savaro, what's up with Daniil Medvedev?
1 game all.
What's up with him?
Second set.
Well, he won a match today, which was good, because he hadn't won one in North America this summer yet, and that's unusual for someone as accomplished as he is on a hard court. Finalist here last year. So
his serve just isn't talking for him as much. Is that what you're looking at?
I think there's an undisclosed physical issue he's dealing with that's halting his serve.
Okay, it sounds shouldery.
Or potentially somewhere in the abdominal area. They're not talking about it. Okay. They're alluding to it.
Okay.
What are you thinking and hearing about Daniil Medvedev?
I'm just
15 love.
What do I know? I'm just wondering why. It seemed to me that his serve was so big a part of his game, and it's just not squawking as much. But if he has an undisclosed injury, that makes sense. That really makes sense.
Lee too, chance to just keep the pace here and keep his nose in front and set 2. That's beautiful. Nice. That wide serve is the wise one if you're going to serve and volley. Should get Alcaraz off the court, and you just need to bunt the ball to the open court to have success. Like this guy's service motion?
I do.
It's nice, isn't it?
He's got a stylish game.
Little tougher serving down the middle, because you've got to be so precise with the volley given Alcaraz's speed and skill set, but much harder to hit accurate serves out wide for someone 6 feet tall in the NAD court, right? Because you're hitting the pronated serve flat. It's a lower make probability.
Lad. First service.
From Lee too. Staying with him in the second.
Too late fight. 2 games to 1. Second set. First
Now 8 o'clock on this Tuesday night in Flushing Meadows. Manhattan skyline. This looks pretty good right around now.
time.
Up a set on serve in the second. It's Carlos Alcaraz.
Oh, they'll crush and rush from the Aussie.
Love 15.
Gives him a love 15 lead. Digging in here in set number 2. That'll give Alcaraz something to think about here the next time he hits a second serve in the deuce court. Might try and hit it out wide or into the body of the Aussie to prevent that little backhand and charge move. It's much more difficult if you hit a serve to the backhand here for a player to hit and get into the net. They've got a lot more court to cover angle-wise.
Love 13.
Here we go, come on.
Third set.
Just the second unforced error from 2 in this set. He's really cleaned his game up nicely. It seems like the nerves that entered the court with him have steadied a little bit, and with that, Alcaraz has been given more shots to play, and he's made 6 unforced errors so far this set. Only 2 in the opening set for the Spaniards, so good opportunity here. 30 all. That's a good body serve again, though, Mary.
How clever is servers Alcaraz?
Very. He has a good, for someone who probably never played a lot of baseball, he pitches a good game.
Yeah.
He has a lot of options with his serve, right? He'll stand way wide in the ad court like a doubles player and hit the short kick serve off the court at times. You like most about his serve as he holds on to it there for 2 apiece.
Yeah, it's
2 games all.
He can hit anywhere. And here's my
Second
question.
set.
He looks at his coaches. He looks at his box after every single point. Is he getting told where to serve after every point when it's on his service game, or is this just him thinking, this is where I'm going to throw in? What do you think?
I think he takes more instruction on where to return serve from than he does where to serve from. But Juan Carlos Ferrero is one chatty Cathy.
That chatty Caterina. He really is. He's got a lot on his mind. Just check to make sure he was okay. Didn't get scraped up.
Love 15.
Take your time. Breathe, man. Slow down. Slow down. Think about the 1-2, all right? Think about it. Pick your spot. Here we go.
You can hear his coach, Ben Milner.
Thinking about the 1-2, that's the instruction, and what he means by that is second shot after the serve, right? First shot after the serve. The serve's the first one, second shot coming. That's where you want to do damage. Not going to get a lot of aces. It's the serve +1.
Tu's been taking such good care of his serves in this second set.
Love 30.
Now he's in trouble.
Missed his chance on this forehand, though, to go a little closer to the line because he was committed to coming in. And against Alcaraz, you're just not going to win that contest often if he gets a good look at a pass.
Lat. Third service.
That serve +1 of which you speak. Is it fair if I give credit to Ivan Lendl for inventing that?
Whoever
Serve
invented it.
forehand?
Yeah.
Because you were pretty good at that too. But Ivan was before you.
I thought you were giving him credit for inventing the phrase. You're giving him credit for inventing the concept.
Correct.
Of finish people off beforehand.
Yeah. Fair. Big serve. Big forehand.
I defer to you, Mary.
Because I'm much older.
No, but you know, you've been looking at it from a different lens for longer than I have.
That's also very true. I've been looking at it from much higher up. I'm giving it to Ivan.
8 times in a row finalist of this tournament. What a champion he was.
Let's
go. First ball, Billie. First ball. Come on.
A chance to hold again.
40.
You know what kind of volley this is, Mary?
Tell me.
A cava.
A cava, that's how they say it in Australia?
Yeah.
Cava.
That's how I've been told they.
You've done a lot of Australian television. You would know.
I think Todd Woodbridge has told me that on one or two occasions.
on that last rally.
Deuce.
Did you see Alcaraz coming in?
He may not have. That's one of those little sneak attacks by Carlitos, because you're head down. Now you know what's coming on the next shot. That was the last shot, but on the backhand, I'm not so sure he had it in the vision. It's a shame. That was a terrific serve, and Alcaraz just read it. Was able to get enough depth on that return, because Lee too is serving much better this set. He's made 70% plus first serves in play. He's really settled into a much better rhythm, but he still faces a challenge here.
Deuce.
This 111 serve wasn't too fast. It allowed him to get into the net. Got in nice and tight. Old Stefan Edberg routine. Twice he won this tournament. Bending in those serves and getting in so quickly to the net. Never heard Stefan Edberg say different than when he said that after you beat Jimmy Connors in the 91 semis, his final play against you was the best match he ever played. Did he tell you that too?
I'm feeling a little sick to my stomach right now, Mary.
You know what?
Thank you for bringing that up. Do we have any bags around here?
You must have felt it, though.
Oh, it didn't last long. The pain was not long. It was a quick kill. What a champion as well. Edberg, such a different style than Wendell.
Just stay through the ball. Stay through the ball. Keep the legs working, all right? Come on.
Good intel from the team there. If you are feeling nervous, your legs get a little heavy, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Important game here. 2 apiece just to keep out in front.
Advantage, Alcaraz.
God, Edberg wanted the volley. Lendl wanted the forehand. Lendl's serve was big. He didn't want to come in behind it. He knew he'd get something he could play with. Edberg always wanted the volley.
Oh, if you volleyed like him, you'd want it too.
Yeah.
Deuce. Advantage, 2.
And you can stick to the sky, all right? Back yourself in.
Take your time.
Don't be afraid to go for the rally, all right? Pick the right spot. Here we go. Come on.
No rushing. Come on, right?
Whoa, he went for the... he went for the underhand serve. He's got to laugh that one off. That wasn't even close. Carlos is smiling. Oh, man. What do you think his coaches are saying right now? They are saying, stick with him. You can stay with him. What a hole. About 9 minutes it took.
He was
Cramping. Yes, exactly. But, man, it worked.
It worked.
And the 17-year-old ended up winning the whole thing.
So I want to just go back for a
15
second to what the coaches were suggesting him, that you could stay with him, you know, stay in the rallies. Basically, don't panic is what the message was. Just relax, wait for the right shot, and go for it. Forget who you're playing, play the ball, not the player. There's a really nicely crafted speech at Dartmouth College for the graduates earlier this year, which is a high-end school. And a guy who knows a thing or two about winning tennis matches did mention that over the course of his career, as successful as he'd been, he'd won 54% of all the points he'd played. That guy, Roger Federer, was pretty good, but players could stay with him for a period of time.
It's amazing.
They just didn't beat him very often.
Were you aware of that math?
No.
Yeah.
Mary, the reason I played tennis for a living was because I was told there'd be no math.
Exactly.
13,
We were both
15.
trying to avoid that subject.
But that's the reality. These matches are won by a point here or there most of the time. The first set certainly was not the case in this match, but the second set currently stands 20 points won by Li Tu and 19 won by
14,
Carlos
15.
Alcaraz.
Doesn't feel that, does it?
No. Alcaraz has had the breakpoint chances. Li's looking for his opportunity. Hasn't gotten there yet, but if he starts to believe that he can hang in the rallies and Alcaraz can continue to make some unforced errors, might get a chance.
Such a good rally.
Game, Alcaraz.
How about the saber? How about the homage to Federer with the sneak attack, half volley, return a serve, and get to the net?
3
Didn't
games
work,
all,
but
second
it's
set.
kind of fun to see in action again. Half volleyed that return a serve. And nice athleticism to even get his racket on the lob.
Federer, in his speech, Jim said that he won almost 80% of his 1,526 matches. But as you said, only 54% of the points. Chrissy ever
Love
won
15.
20% of her professional matches. No one's ever done that. Except Chrissy.
Now, Chrissy's career is just outrageous. How good is this young man's career going to be when it's all said and done? All the makings of greatness are there on display. Quick start at 21 years of age with 4 major titles under his belt. Plays well across all surfaces. We've seen that. Won majors on all 3 surfaces that are played. Things, Mary, that makes him so good, one of the many things, there are lots to choose from, but
15,
his
third
ability
set.
to break serve is astonishing. #1 on tour last year, currently #2 on tour, only behind Alex de Minaur. And he's not a big guy. Neither is Alex, by the way.
No.
And it's, I think it must be difficult when you're small to not get aced a lot. But when you do things like this, stand this deep, you buy yourself time to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
15, quarter.
And the fact that Lee 2 has held his serve a couple of times, 3 times in this set, is a testament to his lift and level. It's not easy to hold serve against Alcaraz.
Alcaraz is 2 in return games. What is he in service games?
Let's take a peek. Let's go down the rabbit hole. We have the knowledge.
You got in the fun.
Service games 1.
Yeah. Where is he on that?
Yannick Sinner is #1. Alcaraz is 12th.
Wow. Okay. Who's the biggest surprise in that first 11?
Brandon Nakashima is #6. Oh, that's a
Game,
shame.
Alcaraz.
That's a shame.
On his 4th double fault, Alcaraz now has
Serve at 2-all, but gets the break at 3 apiece, so a chance now to put a stamp on the second set.
Now that he's got the break, do you get the sense he might be going for some circuit shots, Alcaraz?
He might try and get this crowd engaged. The crowd's a little bit muted tonight because he got off to such a quick start, and there haven't been as many of the highlight reel shots yet.
Exactly.
We might see the reel start to roll.
Lat.
This crowd's more like one of my favorite
First
albums of
service.
all time. There's a real murmur here. Shout out to REM.
Next up
15
on the
off.
match is Jessica Pegula taking on Shelby Rogers. Shelby retiring. A lot of retiring players this year. Shelby among them.
Third set.
Guess he's given himself his first break points.
15, quarter.
I've not seen a lot of drop shots from Alcaraz. This is normally where he starts to bring out that little party trick.
Exactly.
Game 2.
They all count the same. Winners and your opponent's errors. They all push the needle in the right direction for you.
Money ball.
There you go. That's pressing the attack button a little too quickly for my eye for Lead 2. It's a quality chip, and it was a lucky shot by Alcaraz, but Alcaraz can beat you down the line just as easily as he can beat you cross court there. You're not really in that big of an advantage in today's game with that shot. 30 years ago, yes, the equipment wouldn't allow players to be as offensive from awkward positions as the string and racket combinations do today.
All. 13-15.
You know who played Alcaraz like this last year? I mean, you could tell he was a true believer. The guy who was one half of the longest U.S. Open match ever. Dan Evans, the Brit. On this court, serving and volleying and getting a set off of Alcaraz. It was a terrific match. But he would shake his racket just as Tu did after he won a big point. Alcaraz having that opening set?
2.
And what's he got?
11 winners and 2 unforced errors in that set. 7 winners against 13 unforced errors. And as a result, Lead 2 is quiet on the stat sheet. He's in the positive. He has the same amount of winners as Alcaraz, but just 5 unforced against the 13 of the Spaniard. And that's what's keeping him in it. You don't have to be loud on the stat sheet to win. Take what you're given. He's doing a nice job of that this set.
Game 2.
28-year-old Aussie Lead 2 is making a match of this against the number 3 seed Carlos Alcaraz.
2.
Lead 2 is so aggressively positioned with that return serve. He's standing right on top of the baseline, and by the time he's ready to make the return, which he didn't have to there because of the double, he's 3-4 feet inside the baseline, and Alcaraz seemingly feeling pressure there, throws in the double. And now that 4-point necessity is 3 for 2 to take the second set.
Love 13.
It's one-way traffic. Last 10 points. And a tense moment ahead for the number 3 seed.
15-13.
Thoughts on this shot?
He didn't really do much with it, did he? He just wanted to just drop it over there, and Lee Tu nearly made it happen.
He's an explosive mover.
Yeah.
Both of these guys are.
He had a look at it, didn't he?
Sure did.
He's been running around to give himself his forehand.
15,
He's made some big mistakes doing that tonight. And how about this? Set points for the 28-year-old qualifier from Australia.
Thank you. Quarter. Thank you. Players are ready. Thank you.
That's Alcaraz just using his instincts on big points to take it to his opponent and using that tremendous all-court sensibility. That volley just firm enough. Nothing wrong with that point from the Aussie there, but the first set point, that was a mistake to try a saber, a sneak attack return like that. Alcaraz was in a giving mood, has been in this whole set. Make him beat you with greatness like he did on that 40-30 point. Back to deuce they go.
He's got a chance to even this set.
Advantage, Alcaraz. Deuce. Advantage, 2.
Another set point for Lee Tu.
Please.
Must have caught the line. He cannot believe that ball was not called out by the electronic line calling. What a pickup from Alcaraz to stay in this set.
4 centimeters in, we've been told.
Usually that triggers an automatic replay on the jumbo screens here to show the players and fans alike just how close it was. But thanks for letting us know, Mary. Another second serve. He's set 2 double faults in this court so far this game with the pressure from the Aussie. And there's number 3. Has not figured out what he should do. A second serve to the forehand. First of all, you got to make it. And go with the forehand. 4th set point in this game. With quality play. And Mary, you asked if they give instructions for serving.
Yeah.
This is when it does hurt Alcaraz that he's on the wrong side of the court away from his team, so he's not allowed to get verbal coaching, only hand signals from this distance. But if they were in the same side, Ferrero would be telling him to do something different with his serve. Either take something off of the first serve in the deuce, make sure you make it, or go second serve at the forehand, because 2 is looking for a quick backhand strike on those second serves to get in behind. Got to change something up here in the deuce court if you're the Spaniard.
Please.
Nothing for the Aussie to do until Alcaraz makes a change. You just keep coming.
Coming up on 10 minutes now.
Thank you. Thank you.
These missed serves and double faults.
Game and second set 2.
Win set 2.
By 6 games.
Roland Garros 2023 against Novak.
Love 15.
He can hit cold winners.
Yeah. So I'm not really a car guy.
Okay.
I've never owned a Ferrari.
Okay.
But I hear that if you do own Ferraris, they end up in the shop a lot.
Because?
They're temperamental. They're incredibly explosive and fun and fast and flashy. But they break down at times, too. And for me, Alcaraz's body is a bit of a Ferrari. He's okay. Looks like he is. With momentum in this match, and used a little too much momentum to tumble onto the court there. Tried to slide and his foot stuck into the court, so he was smart to get off of it quickly before he rolled his ankle. What do you feel about my Ferrari analogy?
I'm in.
Lad. First service. 30-15.
Momentum now
30
has shifted. The opening set went quickly, under 30 minutes for Alcaraz to snatch it 6-2. Nearly an hour for the second set to go the other direction. And now it's an arm wrestle for control. Who's going to take it? Both these guys with the short sleeves ready for that.
30-40.
Where did this go wrong?
Yeah, just tried to put too much slice on it.
Carved it too much.
He carved it and didn't make good contact.
Deuce.
Didn't win the point, but Alcaraz did something that was pretty magnificent to watch. Watching him hit and move was like watching a skier do a slalom down the mountain. He was charging at an angle towards the net with every shot. You need to do that when you return from one hand on the back wall, which is where he was in that last point.
I think cutting into the court.
Oh, yeah.
Advantage 2. Deuce. Advantage 2.
Carlos Ferrero might be shushing himself right now, but I bet he's ready to start speaking a little bit to Carlos when he comes on the other side after this game, Mary.
Yeah. I think he's got a lot on his mind.
I would imagine so. He cannot be happy.
No. He's just complicated this match, huh?
No.
Deuce.
You kind of know, looking at Carlos, he kind of knows he's going to be spoken to when they change hands. Look at him. Oh, boy.
Advantage 2. Let for service. Game 2.
Two holes.
First game, third set.
It's a remarkable hole to serve.
And if you got to 39 and you miss wide,
Sort of.
I don't think Carlos wants ever to go 40.
No.
This is allowed now. You're allowed to. You're not supposed to be moving during the points. But finally, this sport is allowing fans to get to their seats after every game,
15 love.
not after every changeover. And it looks like the players are quickly getting used to it.
We started doing that at the Australian Open this year. That was the first time, and players the first couple days were looking around wondering what was going on, and then they just got on with it.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It's hugely
Third
sensitive.
long.
Fans in the upper deck here are allowed to come in and move around freely like if they were at a basketball game. They don't have to wait for the end of games. There's no rope up there holding them back for the end of a game. There are down in the low bowl where it's a little bit more in the eye line of where the ball might be for the players. So good fan improvement here from the USTA.
30,
Absolute
15.
kudos for them being progressive like that. Hopefully all the tournaments around the world will follow suit, be more fan friendly. But this isn't too friendly to Carlos Alcaraz. He's the one who normally wins these types of points, Mary.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to do that, and he can. And that could be the problem when he's missing.
15.
This game is gregarious.
It's not about holstering your weapons all the time. It's about using them at the right time.
Game Alcaraz.
And he celebrates. He is frustrated. Finally made a serve that he liked.
One game on. Third set.
Are we sure this kid Spaniard, Mary? Because he doesn't play with the type of restraint that most Spanish tennis players have historically.
That's for sure.
Low 15.
Name me another Spanish tennis player that's ever played at this level in main draws of these events who have been so offensive minded.
I'm going to go to Manolo Santana. Carlos Alcaraz's father, that was his favorite player. And Santana, he won the French, he won Wimbledon, the first Spaniard to win Wimbledon. He liked to serve and volley. Carlos's dad was hoping that Carlos would play like that.
I must confess, I didn't get a chance to see Manolo play as much as I would have wanted to. I know he's a great champion. Was he as
gregarious,
carefree on the court? Was he more structured than this guy has no structure?
No, he was buttoned up.
This guy's a free-form jazz exploration out here.
It's
30 all.
And it's what makes him so compelling. You just don't know what he's going to do, and he can do anything at any time that just might be the best thing you've ever seen on a tennis court.
It's so true.
Even the attack-minded players that I'm more familiar with, the Feliciano Lopez's, a true serve and volleyer.
Yeah.
Feliciano Lopez was he wanted to get in. He would chip in charge.
Right, just think about the target. Here we go. Come on.
As both of these coaches engage. Feliciano Lopez never surprised anybody with anything that he did. You knew what was coming. You knew if you gave him a short ball, he was coming in. You knew if he had a serve, he was probably following that in.
Right.
Rafa Nadal, a different type of aggressive player, never surprised anybody because he did the same thing over and over again until he beat you to a pulp. And there was nothing you could do about it for the most part. It's percentage tennis, and Alcaraz doesn't have that gear just yet. I think he's gotten better at it, but he's not good at it tonight.
2 games to 1.
28 years young, you say, Billie too, in this second phase of his tennis life, having quit the game cold at age of 18, and now 6 years later came back out, making his way possibly into the top 100. Love to see that for someone with this storyline. And at a time when 28 years, it is truly going at least 4 with Alcaraz, and he might be a winner. Who knows? He's on serve here in the third.
Long.
Looks like he wasn't quite sure he was going 4 sets. He's getting some extra equipment ready to go go the distance with him. Some help from his friends up there.
Talk about Carlos Alcaraz, Jim, as like a jazz player. Like great Miles Davis. He used to say about jazz. Miles Davis would trade. He would say, listen for what you can leave out. Another jazz great, Charles Mingus. You know these people. You're pretty.
I do.
A jazz bassist and a composer. he said one of my favorite things. He said, anyone can make the simple complicated. Creativity is making the complicated simple.
And that's Juan Carlos Ferrero's job.
That's right.
Alcaraz. Two games all.
Time to remind you again of how much value there is in usopen.org. You can track all the scores that have happened. There's a couple of good surprises that have happened today. Match day 2 of the US Open. There's player news. You can see notes, quotes. It's all available. usopen.org. Social media, it's all over social media. YouTube will catch you up in a hurry.
Second service.
The Mingus quote about making something complicated simple is so relevant to Alcaraz, and it makes me think about where he is in his journey. A player with all the shots, technique, all the athleticism, all the options that are really available to pretty much any tennis player, but he's got it all in his body. And he's done well to organize them. And he's organizing here in this game at Love 30. And he's obviously off to an incredible start with 4 major titles already. At just turned 21 this spring. And I think about another player. We've already talked about him here today, Roger Federer, and how long it took him to organize all of his complicated awesomeness.
That's so right.
And Alcaraz is ahead of him.
But did Roger win his first major at 22, I believe? Right?
It's hard to put together all of those options and figure out which ones you should use at the right time. It has to be. I wouldn't know. There are only a handful of people that have played this sport in the men's game that do. Pete Sampras was another one that took time to organize all of his options and needed the help of his coach, Tim Gullickson, to do so. It's worth us reminding ourselves that we need to be a little more patient. And sometimes we can be as impatient as Carlos is on the court, wanting him to just keep going in this direction. A little bit of a gift, and Alcaraz will have another chance to take a lead here in the third set. Crowd's going to interject.
It's interesting, Jim. Now I'm thinking only of music. Jelena Gencic was the first coach of Novak Djokovic. She'd also worked with the young Monica Seles, and she saw how bright and thoughtful and understanding Djokovic was when he was just a little dude. And she played classical music for him. I just wanted Novak to understand the rhythms of music, the way there are rhythms of a match. That it goes high, it goes low. There's drama. Then finally, peace. What an education he had. And when you see these professional players that are only being coached by their parents, you're thinking, are you looking around? Are you, are you having a mosey around the locker room? See what kind of teams the best players are building around them? How many good people, smart people, professional, thinking it takes to be great.
Advantage 2. Game 2.
Still hasn't quite figured out how to kick two loose.
Leads by 3, games to 2, third set. 1-0.
On serve in the third.
Love. Third long. Thirty 15.
Crowd's been in kind of a buzzy mood for the last couple of games. They want to see a lot of match. They want to see this guy come good and play a good match. But at this point, they want to see Alcaraz take control, right? They want to see him play better.
Yes.
They came to say that guy, the one serving.
This is where the long form aspect of men's tennis at a major is so helpful for someone like Alcaraz. Best of 5, more time to get out of a rut, more time to make an opponent with less experience feel the pressure and have to perform at a high level. still an overwhelming favorite, even though they're at 3 apiece in a set apiece.
Yeah.
But not a good feeling for Team Alcaraz right now. There'll be things to practice for sure, should he get through, which we expect him to.
15 love.
Patience, I think, is number one. The discipline tonight has not been there.
Yeah.
Is that perhaps still a hangover effect from the Olympic Games and the crowded schedule this year?
That's it. Just keep backing yourself.
Right hitting. Right hitting.
That's it, dude.
Back yourself, is that what you said?
Back yourself. Very much an Aussie
Yeah,
expression. Yeah, just trust yourself effectively.
Yeah.
You know, believe in yourself. Is there any credence to the players having extra fatigue this year due to adding such an emotional event like the Olympics into the middle of their schedule?
Absolutely, no question. That's why a lot of good players decided not to do it. And it's really helped someone like Francis Tiafoe. I mean, Tiafoe has already said he's got. He would have loved the Olympics. He would have loved watching all the other sports. But he wanted to put together a good hard court summer. He wanted to come in here feeling good, and he's playing well.
30.
But also these Masters 1000s that have been stretched out now. A lot of players, including and especially Iga Świątek, have been talking about that there's just those events, man. It's not right to say, look at all those forehand winners from Alcaraz. That's good stuff. It's one thing for the people playing that don't end up playing on the final weekend. People like Iga Świątek play a lot more matches than most people. And she just says there's no time to work on your game.
Keep backing yourself in. Same again.
Back yourself again. Ben is telling his player.
Third service game out of 4 that Alcaraz has been able to get to a break point against to serve. Yet to crack the code.
Code violation. Was that for taking two?
That was serve. Yeah, the serve clock went to 0.
Is that they weren't told about it? It wasn't. That's what really aggravates Iga. They didn't have a say in it. They were just told all of a sudden these things are going to go longer than what?
So you're telling me that their player council that represents them at the board level, they were not told that these changes were coming, and they didn't communicate. The player council didn't communicate it to the playing group?
That's exactly what she says. Exactly what she says.
Got to take her word for that.
Yeah.
She's in the room where it happens.
Or maybe she wasn't in the room where it happened.
She's in the room where the player council is supposed to make things happen and communicate to the playing group.
Yeah. And what she says is that she was asked after her win today, said she's willing to get fined for not playing some of the 1000s. And I don't think she'll be alone. I'm not a big fan of it either. She talks about how literally the first tournament starts on the 29th of December. Mandatory tournaments, the number of them have gone up.
Yeah, that tournament on the 29th is not mandatory.
Yes, correct.
Just to set the record straight for everybody. Lee, too, flashy forehand as he tries to get back on serve. I think the master, Mary, of scheduling, and the one that Iga and her team should really take their clues from, was Roger Federer. No one scheduled better over the course of his career for longevity. And if she wants to play a long time like Roger did at a high level, she's going to need to pick up on those cues. And it comes with risk because, while you don't necessarily get fined for missing those tournaments, you get a 0-pointer.
Right.
And that can affect your ranking, and that can act as a drag. You don't get the full bonus pool money, right? Players at the top are giving bonus pool money in lieu of appearance fees for playing to their commitment. So it's complicated.
Yes.
But if you want to play longer, there are simple solutions.
Yeah.
Just takes action.
She'll do that.
Yeah, which is good. She should. As Alcaraz takes control of this one thing that I think is a force for good, and I hope will become a little bit more standard next year when the Canadian Open and Cincinnati move to longer form events. Instead of taking 4 weeks the way that Madrid and Rome do, and Miami and Indian Wells do, they're going to be shoehorned into 3 weeks. So the Canadian Open finals will take place midweek on a Wednesday night. Cincinnati will start on a Thursday, so it's one less week on the road for the players.
Okay.
Wow, what a pick on Alcaraz, and 2 as well. Now, I will say this: it's actually in effect one more week on the road for these players to play those 2 events. Because this year it was 2 one-week events. Next year it goes to 3 weeks for 2 events,
and no Olympics.
Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Every 4 years you struggle with that.
This guy smiles as much as Alcaraz does. And Carlos Bernardes is smiling too.
I think he might be trying to locate where the serve clock is. I don't think he knew where to find it. It's in the corners.
It's in the corners.
But it's on the digital board, and it disappears actually once the point is in play. So you have to know where to look. There it is. The next time that he has a serve violation, he'll lose the right to a first serve if he's serving. If he's returning, he loses the point outright.
Love 15.
So what would your solution be for the schedule, Mary? We might need to hold that thought until the 4th set begins, but I am ever curious as to what your curious mind has cooked up. As the unforced error count climbs for the Aussie. And set moving quickly towards the Spaniard.
15, quarter.
Another set point for the Spaniard.
Finish. Alcaraz.
Just a wee bit more patience from Alcaraz. He's made a big difference here in the second half of this set. Both of them had about the same amount of unforced errors at 3-all, and now he has been tacking them on. Third set point for Carlos.
Game. Third set.
There it is.
Alcaraz. 6-3. Alcaraz.
You know, the WTA would call him up, good old Peachy Kelmar, and say, look, Martinez out. Can you play Detroit? And Chrissy would say yes. Beautiful.
That was a great discussion. Let's get back to the tennis, but
15
we've got a few
long.
more nights to probably peruse that subject.
Yeah, we should have it fixed by like Thursday.
I'll try and do some research by then anyway. This guy looks like he's going to still be in the tournament by Thursday.
Yeah.
That's when the second round will take place for the top half of both the men's and women's draws. That's where Alcaraz and 2 are lurking. Van de Sandskop of the Netherlands took out Dennis Shapovalov. That's who awaits the winner of this one.
Let's just remind the viewers one more time that Lead 2 has already played 3 matches just to get on this court tonight. So you might assume that some fatigue could be setting in.
Game. Alcaraz. First game. 4 sets.
Lead 2 had to save 2 match points in the final round of qualifying just to book his spot here in the first round of a major for the second time. First time was in the 2021 Australian Open when he was awarded a wild card by Tennis Australia, his home nation. But I think he's more proud of this one based on his comments, Mary.
Absolutely. So this was last Thursday in the final round of qualifying. Lee 2 was playing Jesper de Jong, and that's when he was down. The Dutchman had him deep in the third set. He faced 2 match points on serve at 4-5. Came back. And he says of his mom that he lost a couple of years back, she's still with me. I just want to make my parents proud. Oh, man. I just want to make them proud.
Love 15. Love 30.
Real opportunity here for Alcaraz, as his coach Ben Milner encourages Lee 2 to use legs to get up on that serve.
Love 14.
From 3-all in the third set. Seems like the air has come out of the balloon for the Aussie. Alcaraz tightening his game up, limiting the unforced errors, and having his way on the scoreboard. Trying to reel off another game here in a row. He's got
Game Alcaraz. Alcaraz leads by 2 games to love.
Mary,
4 sets.
That's my
wouldn't
friend.
you be proud as a parent to hear your child say, I just want to make my parents proud?
Don't get me jammed up, Jim. Don't do that to me.
Should be pretty proud. Obviously, his father's still with us.
15 love.
His brother, orthopedic surgeon, and a professional tennis player. That's not too bad.
Off.
That's good, solid, big target aggression from Carlos Alcaraz. That's the type of shot and point construction that looks very familiar to fans of Spanish tennis players. Go to big spaces, take little risk for maximum reward. That's a little more risky. That's a little more American
14-15.
style, actually. But
Go for the lines.
how many times did you see Rafa Nadal hit winners with his forehand 8 feet from the lines?
How about that? Yeah.
That's how good his forehand was and still is when we see him at Laver Cup.
Game, Alcaraz.
Yeah, this one's going by in a hurry.
Alcaraz leads by 3 games
Nice,
to long first set and by 2
Nice look over
sets
to
one.
his box there, and good body. His team still believes in him. He said, leave nothing out there. Switch it around.
Love 15.
Big separation now. Alcaraz is just steamrolling him. But what a great learning experience for Lee too. A chance to play on this magnificent center court against a magnificent opponent and to play some pretty breathtaking tennis at times.
Oh, he's acquitted himself beautifully, hasn't he?
Also, managing your energy in a best-of-5 set match is a learned skill. And it looks like he's flagging, as you pointed out.
Really got to go, right?
Coach is recognizing he's fatiguing, apparently, by indicating the serve +1, the +1's really got to go, means you got to finish the point as early as you can. He's running over to his towel box there, player, and to get a drink. That's pickle juice, so he's clearly suffering. He's trying to stave off, looks like, some cramps.
Yeah.
Don't often see a player drinking pickle juice during a game, not on a changeover. It's briny.
More and more players seem to be going.
14-13.
Same again.
Are they going to start having contracts with these juice people?
You would think so.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
This match brought to you by Vlasic. Yeah, he's just fighting it.
Right? Just leave nothing out there. That one's really got to go.
Yeah, he's
Really get up and hit the serve.
serve +1. Gotta go. He's right about that. Hard to do when the energy levels have gone.
And finish. Alcaraz.
He looks to be in distress now.
Game, Alcaraz. Alcaraz leads by 4 games to love. 4 sets.
That's it, man. Here we go.
It's been a warm day. It's been a humid day. Tomorrow is going to be another one here at the U.S. Open. And one of the challenging aspects this year at the U.S. Open is that the weather during qualies week was beautiful. It was like October and August. Cool, dry, unseasonably so. And then the heat and humidity came in Monday, yesterday.
15 love.
And that is very, very hard on a player for the body to acclimatize when they're going from practice where you cannot replicate what your body feels. You cannot call up the adrenaline in the same way.
Of course.
And a lot of players have been suffering, struggling. And it's the double whammy of the weather's bad and your body just hasn't had days in it to get used to it. But relief is coming on Thursday.
As Carlos sees the other side of the net now.
Even at night, it's so humid. This court gets so little wind with the roof apparatus in there that humidity extracts a real toll. And Tu is feeling that big time here. And it's a skill that Alcaraz has had to learn from some painful defeats in the last couple of years, how to manage his body in these types of conditions.
Game Alcaraz. Alcaraz leads by 5 games to love for set.
That's for sure. What's the single biggest strength a modern player has?
Love
I'm
the
gonna say
team.
power,
Yeah.
right? He got it. I mean, he can give it a ride at times, but he can't do that. And I'll time it again. Not too many people can do that.
Love 30.
Yeah, this sport's hard. It's difficult. There are so many countries that are producing tennis players now. Not easy to break into the top 100. It's a great goal. Ooh, a little bit of a stinger as Alcaraz gets to double match point. Tu's legs locking up on that last point. Stay of execution. That was a gimme for Alcaraz.
What's he thinking out there? He said coming into this match, how to play one of the best players in a stadium like Arthur Ashe, the biggest tennis court in the world, biggest tennis stadium in the world, and have mom watching. That will stay with me forever. Sue said, I just hope that I could put in a good performance and I can make my parents proud, especially Mom. I think he's had a very successful night.
Thank you. Two.
Very successful night.
Get some love from the crowd. Feels like a few snuck in from Jersey from the Springsteen concert, but they're not saying Bruce. It's 2.
Game 2. Alcaraz leads by 5 games to 1.
I remember boot power.
Okay.
I'm offended by that accusation.
When he'd come up the plate, they'd yell, "Boo." It sounded like a boo.
Sound like the crowd is energized. Lead 2. There's a great run onto the ball for a guy who seems to be playing in fumes.
Lat for service. Dirty long. Game, set, match, Alcaraz. 2 sets to 1. 6-2, 4-6, 6-3, 6-1.
Oh, man.
Not his best performance at the U.S. Open for Alcaraz, but an important one. He's underway, having lost his opening match in the preceding tournament in Cincinnati.